Kaido is not or does not have awakened abilities. But let's talk about it. Without further ado, before we get to that, greetings and bienvenue, people. Welcome to another video of One Piece discussion. Make sure you like, share, follow, subscribe, click the notification bell, and without further ado, let's get into it. So, Kaido is not awakened. If you haven't, and the reason why I say this is it's gonna be talked about with major spoilers. It's gonna have major spoilers. If you're not a manga reader, then you're gonna be heavily spoiled because all I'm about to say is something that happened in the recent manga and manga chapters before that. And without further ado, let's discuss about it. Now, what is awakened? Well, in Kaido's perspective, from chapter, I think 147, if not 46, where Kaido said that awakening can only happen when both your mind and your body reaches up to harness the potential of your devil fruit ability. Kind of like a yin and yang mechanism where you cannot have one of something without equally having the other for you to achieve great power, like yin and yang. It's reasons like that is why Luffy is not awakened, because Luffy's mindset has always been like his biggest strong suit. He's a very big believer. He's also very versatile and creative. And when it comes to his body, it couldn't be the case simply because, as what a lot of people would speculate, especially in the world of One Piece, the devil fruit has been looked upon as this mediocre devil fruit, which is the gum fruit, until we later realize that it is an actual Nika god ability of some shit, a mythological Zoan. And there's reasons like that where in the recent chapter, Rob Lucci is now awakened. And if we go back to Impel Down, where we have those 4 guards that are awakened beasts, one of the things that was already established is that a Zoan's awakened allows them to be physically more superior than your average abilities that they gain, but in sacrifice for their mental state. But the reason why Rob Lucci is not mentally crazy is because, well, he's not getting overwhelmed by his devil fruit, is because he was already a bloodlusted state. He was already sinister. He was already a menace. And it's because of that, instead of the devil fruit taking over him, it actually works for his favor. He still maintains his consciousness, which means he is another prime example of his mind was already there, but physically speaking, his physical was not as strong as his mental, basically. So why is Kaido not awakened? Well, that's simple. Kaido is physically, without question, the strongest being. Right now, he is the strongest being physically in One Piece. The man's a physical specimen. The man has all versions of Haki. 1v1, always bet on Kaido. But his mind is not there for him to harness an awakening ability. If we look at everybody, if we look at from the standpoint of Rob Lucci, if we look at the version of Luffy, if we look at a lot of other people, their mind works very similar, where they want to become something and achieve something. They're so determined. Their willpower is nigh unmatched, or is very, very strong, which grant them immense willpower. But what happens when you meet somebody who is so strong that he just doesn't give 2 shits anymore? You get Kaido. The man wants to die. He always said that Joy Boy is the only person that could reach his strength, meaning not Whitebeard, not Shanks, not Big Mom, not Garp, not anybody. And if you were supposed to look at the light novel, I think at Ace light novel, it was said that out of the four Yonkos, Kaido is made to be like the strongest, physically speaking. So his physical abilities was always there, but his devil fruit, but his mindset was never there to begin with, because this man always depressed. This man always wants to die. He wants to feel defeated. Not to mention, this man also kept on holding back in his fights. A prime example of that is that he always tanks blows when he could have just not to, even from the back of the 4 or 5 worst generations of giving him attacks, mainly 3, which is Luffy, Law, and Kid, and he stood there, studly, beastly as hell, was like, okay, I'm gonna tank this shit. Another prime example is when this man had future sight and he chose not to use it. And that's kind of funny, because I remember before we even head into Wano Arc, before Wano Arc was a thing, people was already speculating that if there was one weak aspect of Kaido, is that due to the fact that he's such a physical specimen, he's such a tank, is more likely he doesn't have great observation haki. And come to find out, the dude had future sight. That shocked the hell out of me. That shocked me. I'm gonna keep it a beat. I never thought this man was great enough to have future sight. I never thought he had great observation haki, the way how his character has been portrayed. And last but not least, when this man decided to tank the Bajrang gun, he could literally just dodge. He could, but instead he decided to tank it. He was that arrogant. He was that cocky. So in that sense, Kaido cannot be awakened because his mind is not there with his body. His body was very, very profound from jump, especially since his race is an Oni, and we don't really know what an Oni's ability is, but one could argue durability is a major factor. Physical prowess is a major factor. And that pretty much concludes the entire thing. I don't really have that much really in depth, but I will say this though. This only potentially opens a gateway for Kaido showing more shit in later arcs, or in the near future of the final war arc. Because I personally believe that as a Devil Fruit user, you have like 2 of the strongest attacks from a non-Devil Fruit perspective, and from a from a awakened perspective, and from a non-awakened perspective. For example, Dofi's strongest non-awakening ability is the birdcage. It is the one that can scrape up an entire country's surface, completely shield you from things that normally you wouldn't be able to shield from, like meteorites and shit like that. And his strongest awakening ability is his God Thread. So, if the flaming torch dragon form is Kaido's strongest non-awakening abilities, what the hell is his? What other abilities can he? How can we really get much? One kaido. Only time would tell. But for that nature, Kaido is officially a non-awakened Devil Fruit user. And in due time, if Oda decided to give us that in the near future, and we already see what the strongest shit he could do from a regular Devil Fruit zone perspective. His strongest shit is literally him being semi-fire, semi-magma, Susanoo dragon that is the size of a country. almost the size of a country. If that is from his regular side, only time would tell what his others abilities from his awakening side would offer us in the near future. And may God bless the soul of whoever is gonna fight Kaido in the near future.